Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, it's a good day. Epic History. My favorite history channel on YouTube. There are some other great ones, but I just think Epic History is on another level. Love it. Preemptive like the Battle of Valmy. Let's go. Hope everyone's doing well. Hey guys, original link, top of the description. Let's get going. Let's learn. Learning caps on. Listen to me. If you're not ready to learn, you, sir, or madam, are in the wrong class. Home ec's down the hall, all right? Or just sit in the back, whatever. You guys are awesome. Let's go.
14th of July, 1789. The Bastille, symbol of French royal tyranny, has been stormed by the people. For too long they have suffered rampant taxation, forced labor, and now famine. All while the king and aristocracy live in gilded luxury.
Let them eat cake.
No more. In the tennis court oath, representatives of the people swear to curtail the power of the king and establish a constitution. A fervor for the rights of man and the citizen is sweeping away the old regime. A new age is dawning in Europe. An age of enlightenment, equality, and reason. An age of upheaval and war. An age of revolution.
Battle of Valmy, birth of the French Republic.
In the first euphoric days of the French Revolution, hopes for the future are high. In the aftermath of the tennis court oath, France is governed by a National Assembly, a government of elected deputies dominated by Enlightenment thinkers of the middle class. The Assembly drafts a new constitution for France, a formidable challenge, while also directing foreign and domestic policy and attempting to contain a massive economic crisis. At first, most deputies favor a constitutional monarchy. But King Louis XVI and his supporters are disgusted by the idea. They have no intention of sharing power with the Third Estate, the common people, and wish to see the king's absolute power.
You know, it's a bit depressing as when it comes to revolutions. Obviously, some revolutions do replace a worse reality with a better reality, but often the middle class people who intellectuals that was said that uprise usually end up then becoming the new upper class. I guess that's kind of human nature. But yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, often when you have the revolutionary tendencies, but then now you have the chance to be the upper class, and then you become that. Am I getting off topic? Well, no, let's go.
They have no intention of sharing power with the Third Estate, the common people, and wish to see the king's absolute power restored. In June 1791, Louis tries to flee the country to seek aid from loyalist forces on the French frontier.
He's captured.
But he is caught at Varennes. Louis and his family are brought back to Paris under armed guard.
I wonder how he looked, because if I'm Louis, I want to I would dirty myself up a bit, have no nice clothing, and even maybe kind of dress yourself and hold symbols of the people in the revolution. Make yourself as unrecognizable as possible, and dirty yourself up and everyone around you. And I'm not saying look completely, but I wonder how he looked as he was trying to escape. Because did he try to disguise?
Back to Paris at Varennes. Louis and his family are brought back to Paris under armed guard. This outright betrayal by the king fuels a growing divide between those who still believe in a constitutional monarchy and those who want to end the monarchy for good and create a republic. In September 1791, a new constitution is agreed. The king retains significant powers and will oversee a new French government, the Legislative Assembly. But it is hindered by internal division. On the left of the Assembly sit the radical Jacobin factions, who want sweeping reforms to taxation, law and church. On the right, the conservative Foyon faction, who think the revolution has gone far enough. With France in political paralysis, both sides see a possible way to unite the country and get what they want through war.
His Majesty the Emperor and His Majesty the King of Prussia regard the present situation of His Majesty the King of France as a matter of common interest to all sovereigns of Europe. Declaration of Pillnitz, 27th August, 1791.
In 1792, the great...
You know, a lot of the time I read these things and I worry about, just reading it out loud before it disappears, that I don't really take it in. And sometimes... Okay, so it's basically saying other sovereigns around Europe are worried about the events happening in France because they could threaten a similar revolution to happen in their own countries, nations, that could... Okay.
In 1792, the great concern of Europe is not France and its revolution, but Poland. The once mighty Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth has long been in decline. In 1772, its rapacious neighbors, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, had agreed to share out the Commonwealth's border provinces. But there is more to come.
I might sound really stupid here, but is this Ottoman territory right here? Did it go up this far at this point?
Summer, and Russia had agreed to share out the Commonwealth's border provinces. But there is more to come. In the summer of 1792, Empress Catherine of Russia becomes concerned at a possible Polish resurgence and sends in her troops. Austria and Prussia watch on, determined that any Russian gains at Polish expense are matched by their own. For the moment, events in France are therefore of secondary importance. Nevertheless, King Louis's treatment cannot be completely ignored by Europe's other monarchs. There are principles at stake, and fears that the ideals of the French Revolution may spread, like an infection, to neighboring countries. The previous year, 1791, Austria and Prussia had issued a joint statement, the Declaration of Pillnitz. The treatment of King Louis, they announced, was of common concern to all European monarchs. This vaguely worded warning, intended to strengthen King Louis's position, causes outrage in France.
He trusts that the interests will not fail to be recognized by the powers, and that in consequence they will not refuse to employ, in conjunction with their said majesties, the most efficient means to place the King of France in a position to establish the foundations of monarchical form of government. Okay.
The revolutionaries view Austria as a reactionary power, which gives support to dangerous French exiles, the aristocratic émigrés in Koblenz, who wish to invade France and overturn the revolution. They are led by the king's brothers and cousin, and now command a force 5,000 strong. There is growing clamor for war from all quarters. Among the Jacobins, the Girondin faction believe war will unite France. Some even call for a crusade to spread revolutionary ideals across Europe. The king and his...
Kind of similar to the Prussian intention in the Franco-Prussian War that could unite the German states, which it did.
Revolutionary ideals across Europe. The king and his supporters believe war will remind France of its traditional loyalties, while privately, King Louis and Marie Antoinette would also welcome French defeat, which would mean an end to the revolution. On the 20th of April 1792, citing numerous provocations, the French Legislative Assembly votes to declare war on the Habsburg monarchy of Austria. France rides a wave of war fever, and hopes are high for a quick victory. But the French army, one of the most powerful forces in Europe, has been thrown into chaos by the revolution.
What is this hat? I've seen it before. It kind of looks like a nightgown, like a pajama type hat. Like, reminds me of renditions of the Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, where Scrooge is wearing that. It's interesting.
Europe has been thrown into chaos by the revolution. Almost half its officers, all aristocrats, have fled France to escape the revolution. Those who remain are not trusted by their men or the politicians. Old regiments of the Royal Army are also regarded with suspicion. They have been augmented by tens of thousands of fresh volunteers, a citizen army that is eager and full of zeal, but lack discipline, training, and supplies.
Sure.
France hopes to capture the Austrian Netherlands, modern Belgium, a rich province and a seemingly easy target. The experienced generals Rochambeau, Lafayette, and Luckner share
Lafayette.
command of 3 frontier armies, but cannot agree on a plan. And the fragility of their new recruits is soon exposed. General Biron, advancing on Brussels, wins a minor skirmish at Quievrain. But he is so alarmed by the disorderly conduct of his troops, he decides to pull back to the frontier. His men are so jumpy that the mere rumor of an Austrian attack triggers a complete rout. Another column, led by General Dillon, meets a similar fate. Rumors sweep the ranks that they have been betrayed by their own officers. General Dillon is shot and bayoneted by his own men, his body dumped onto a fire.
Jesus.
Hopes for a quick French victory.
The mob is terrifying. I mean, did they think he was actually... Jeez, he's biting his hair there. Oh my God. I mean, he was going into a territory where he himself could get killed. So, but I mean, tension. This is the scary thing about revolutions, is sometimes they're necessary, but man, it is mob rule and not a lot of... Anyways.
A fire. Hopes for a quick French victory are shattered. And instead, a crisis is brewing. That summer, Prussia declares war on France, joining Austria in an alliance that comes to be known as the First Coalition. Together, they plan to invade France, crush the revolution, and restore the powers of the king. The Prussian army is led by the Duke of Brunswick, regarded as Europe's best general. On the 25th of July, he issues a declaration. If any harm should come to the French royal family, he will bring down an ever-memorable vengeance upon the people of Paris, threatening to destroy the city and execute all rebels. 6 days later, the Duke of Brunswick crosses the Rhine and advances into France. Paris is in uproar. Enraged by Brunswick's threat, the National Guard storms the King's Palace, the
I was
Tuileries.
gonna say you might have gone a little bit too aggressive in that threat.
By Brunswick's threat, the National Guard storms the King's Palace, the Tuileries, on the 10th of August. Swiss guards and royal staff are slaughtered. The king and his family take refuge with the Legislative Assembly, and although they survive the massacre, they are now prisoners of the Jacobins. The French army is in disarray, the government in turmoil. The enemy is marching on Paris. The revolution is in mortal danger.
Citizens, the fatherland is in danger. May those who will obtain the honor of marching first to defend what is most dear to them always remember that they are French and free. Legislative Assembly.
After the disastrous invasion of the Austrian Netherlands, it is obvious that France's citizen soldiers cannot yet be relied upon. They have neither the training nor discipline of the old royal battalions. So the French army undergoes rapid reforms. Formations and doctrine are simplified to match the skill of the new recruits, who continue to flood in from the provinces. Camping gear and heavy supply wagons are ditched to increase mobility. Most crucially, veterans of the old Royal Army, previously looked on with suspicion, are allowed back into the field. This revitalized force will prove far more effective, though it still lacks experienced officers. For the time being, France has just 54,000 troops, under the command of Lafayette and Luckner, between Brunswick and Paris. The combined Austro-Prussian army totals 84,000 men, a relatively small force, but deemed sufficient to brush aside an inexperienced enemy. The cautious Brunswick advances slowly into France. On the 23rd of August, he captures the border fortress of Longwy. 10 days later, he captures the fortress city of Verdun. The fall of Verdun triggers panic in the capital. Thus far, you have only had a make-believe warfare, warns Jacobin leader Georges Danton. We shall now have a more terrible war, the war of the nation against the despots. It is time to say to the people that they must hurl themselves upon their enemies. Such words fuel rumors of a plot within Paris. Mobs take savage, preemptive action, storming the city's jails and butchering all those they find within. Priests and nuns who have not sworn allegiance to the new state are also targeted. The September massacres leave more than 1,000 dead. Things are little better at the front. Rochambeau has resigned in disgrace. Lafayette has defected to the Austrians following a disastrous attempt to launch his own military coup.
Wow.
The new commanders are Generals Kellermann and Dumouriez, enthusiastic supporters of the revolution, but as yet untested in high command. Dumouriez, energetic and bold, is tasked with holding the coalition advance at the Argonne forest. But believing the enemy will head south, he fails to properly guard the passes, and Brunswick outflanks Dumouriez to the north. Chazot's division is routed by just 1,500 Prussian hussars. The panic is so great, it nearly triggers the collapse of the entire French army. Dumouriez only just manages to hold his forces together. The road to Paris is now open for Brunswick. But Kellermann's troops have finally arrived to support Dumouriez. His Army of the Centre contains some of the best regiments in the French army and gives Dumouriez the confidence to advance against the enemy. Rather than moving to block the road to Paris, Dumouriez makes the bold decision to march against the rear of the coalition army, threatening their lines of communication. Unwilling to risk continuing the advance, Brunswick doubles back to engage the French. Here, he thinks, is a chance to destroy the revolutionary army, which has never yet managed to stand its ground.
Arise, children of the fatherland, the day of glory has arrived. La Marseillaise. I'm sure I'm butchering that French.
In the early hours of the 20th of September 1792, a thick fog blankets the rolling countryside around Valmy. Brunswick's advance guard, marching east, runs into General Valence, holding the village of La Lune. Valence's men are veterans of the old Royal Army. They put up a stiff fight and buy time for the rest of the French army to deploy on a ridge just west of Valmy. Brunswick had not expected such determined resistance. He decides to wait until more troops have arrived before launching his assault. The two armies are now of almost equal size. About 36,000 French facing 34,000 Prussians. Both sides also bring up their artillery, 40 French guns against 56 Prussian. While the Prussians have greater numbers, French guns are better positioned on the hills. The French artillery has also been less affected by the revolution than other arms. They are experienced, disciplined, and benefit from the famous Gribeauval system, which has improved and standardized artillery equipment. As both sides open up a deafening barrage, Dumouriez and Kellermann ride up and down the lines, exposing themselves to flying round shot, encouraging their men to hold firm. French troops show their resolve by roaring out a new revolutionary song that is all the rage that summer, La Marseillaise. As the artillery duel drags on, it becomes clear that the French will not be so easily broken. At 1 p.m., Brunswick orders a general advance. The Prussian infantry come under murderous fire.
I just want to say, I'm going to go back just 10 seconds. I can't think of a more difficult situation, a difficult battle, a more difficult commanding situation than Kellermann and Dumouriez are facing right now, where you like them running up and down, exposing themselves of an army that they know is not very professional and that they need to do their best, like their absolute best to command the forces, rather than having a more professional army.
It becomes clear. Brunswick orders a general advance. The Prussian infantry come under murderous fire. Each step forward, more and more men are smashed by French round shot. After only a few hundred paces, Brunswick decides that further advance will be too costly and halts the attack. For the first time since the outbreak of war, the French seem to have thrown back the enemy. But it's not over yet.
Cavalry?
A Prussian cannonball strikes an ammunition wagon. Ranks of men are knocked down. The artillery duel halts briefly as men gaze in awe at the explosion. A Prussian officer urges Brunswick to seize the moment, but Brunswick hesitates, while a young French brigadier, the future King Louis-Philippe, rides up with 2 batteries of horse artillery to shore up the line. Kellerman, too, is on the spot, raising his hat and shouting, "Vive la nation!" In previous engagements, the French had broken at the first sign of danger. At Valmy, they hold firm. From the Royal Veterans to the Raw Volunteers, the exhausted gunners to the brave generals.
Given the circumstances, I can't think of another engagement, battle, war, history thing that I've watched in YouTube videos that shows more professional and insanely good leadership as I'm witnessing right now. I mean, previously you had horrible invading the Austrian Netherlands disaster, and then you had very little time as the Prussians were coming to invade to kind of, I also think it was smart to get, like they said, get rid of more complicated tactics that would be good to have in an experienced army, but it'd be better to go back to the basics since you have less experienced guys. And then in all of this, they seem to be doing everything perfectly. And then Louis Philippe coming in when that explosion happens, just coming in, okay, I got it. Bringing in cannons to replace those is just, I've never learned about a more impressive leadership in a battle. I haven't.
At 5 p.m., with rain falling and ammunition running low, firing dies out on both sides.
Here and today, a new epoch in the history of the world has begun, and you can boast you were present at its birth. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, Valmy veteran German poet.
Valmy was neither a large nor costly battle. There are just a few hundred casualties on both sides. Some debate whether it should even be called a battle at all. But it is a crucial moment of the French Revolution. With its very survival in jeopardy, the Revolutionary Army, augmented by the old Royal Army, has stood its ground and checked the enemy invasion. The next day, emboldened by news of victory, France's new National Convention abolishes the monarchy and proclaims a French Republic. The French army pulls back to better defensive terrain. The Prussians are left to fend for themselves in a hostile country. Heavy rain continues to thrash the armies through September, while desertion and disease reduce Brunswick's main force to just 17,000 effectives. The Prussian general has had enough. His well-drilled soldiers are a precious resource, not to be thrown away on a doomed enterprise. What's more, the situation in Eastern Europe seems a more pressing concern, where Poland is about to be carved up once more. Brunswick gives the order to retreat, and on the 23rd of October, the last coalition troops recross the River Rhine.
Is that the end
Germany.
of the first coalition?
It will take more than 20 years and the loss of more than 3 million lives before another coalition army gets as close to Paris as Brunswick did that autumn in 1792. Do you want to watch?
So I'm going to watch through the rest of this, their sponsors and what they're showing here, whatnot, but just want to give my last thoughts. I wonder if, so it's amazing seeing historical events like these where if they lost, a lot of history would probably change. But seeing how ravenous and hyped up and just vigorous the French citizens are, even if the Prussians were able to defeat the French army there and go on in towards Paris and everything, I mean, you'd have to. I don't think, seeing how the fervor of the revolutionaries and the citizens in France, I don't see how you could subdue that in any way whatsoever. Yeah, it's a very great video. I'm going to watch through this. If you're leaving now, thanks for watching with me, learning with me, and maybe you can answer some questions I had. Guys are always great with that. and I'll see you guys next
Unreleased
time.
new
I'm gonna
Epic
watch
History
through this.
videos right now, weeks before they drop on YouTube? How about a new episode of our Rise of China series, as we cover China's devastating war against Japan that led to millions of deaths and appalling atrocities? And yet, as one of the big five Allied powers, China's contribution to World War II is still hugely neglected in the West. If you want to watch this video right now and be first to see all of our new videos, prestige streaming service Nebula is the place to be. Nebula is built and curated by creators like us, which means that it's a platform where you're guaranteed to find high-quality videos made with passion and integrity by real humans about fascinating topics. And all of them are ad-free.
Opposed to AI voices.
We highly recommend checking out Real Life
AI
Law's
videos.
Modern Conflict series, with recent episodes providing cutting-edge analysis of the wars in Gaza and Ukraine. With a new release every month, this series will keep you up to date with the latest geopolitical developments, while also giving you new insight into fascinating conflicts from the past. The latest release delves into the extraordinary story of the drug lord El Chapo, using great archive and brilliant visuals. And like a growing number of videos in this series, the manhunt for El Chapo is a Nebula original, which means you won't be able to see it anywhere else. There are hundreds of other great creators on Nebula, across all genres, so whether you're after original movies and entertainment, or documentaries covering everything from travel to gaming, technology, and of course history, you're bound to find something that you'll enjoy. Plus, there's a great and growing range of Nebula originals only available to subscribers. And we've got an exclusive discount for Epic History viewers. The link in our video description gets you 40% off Nebula's annual plan. That's just $36 a year or $3 a month.
I want to make sure to get through to these areas. So if you're interested in this, guys, make sure you use the promo codes, the links if you're still here. Love y'all. Hope everyone's doing well. Hopefully I'll see you next video. We keep on learning together. Bye, guys.